Walter on the phone.
Everybody, happy Thursday.
Today we're going to talk about local SEO. We launched a new product last month, and we wanted just to share how it's been going and how it works for everyone to get a better understanding of it. So first of all, let's start with what is local SEO. Really two main points here. One is that a lot of people have called this map optimization. Sometimes it's called local SEO. We think of it as really just any online marketing that helps businesses increase search engine traffic based on map placement for geographic-related keywords. And I have an example here to the right of me searching for plumbers in Falls Church. And you can see here that in this section...
hey, Chad, I hate to do this to you again.
Yeah?
But we've got a lot of people responding. They cannot see your screen. I've lost it as well.
Okay.
There we go.
Do you still see it?
Yeah, it's back.
Okay, interesting.
Thanks.
Okay, let me start that again then. So just was pointing out here that in terms of local SEO, when you look at a traditional Google search results page, you will see in the upper right-hand corner a map, but more importantly in the search results, and in this case, after the third result, there's a 7-pack here of local businesses that match on Falls Church Plumbing. The other thing to note is that there are many search queries out there where Google just automatically shows the local results, even if you're using what some would call a national phrase. So a lot of times when you search for things like plumber or lawyer, there are, in many cases, Google has assumed that someone searching for a plumber is probably looking for someone near them, and so they're using either their personalized information in terms of what they've set as part of their Google profile, or they're using your IP address that you often see on the left-hand side of the search results page to use and show relevant search results for that location. So we're going to talk mostly about Google here, but something similar happens with Yahoo and Bing, for that matter. The other thing to talk about is really to say that when we look at the search results page, while it's combined with the organic search results, the actual way that Google pulls in these map results or these local results is different. So the algorithm that is used to show the traditional organic results is different than what they're using to pull in the local results. So that's why really we have a local SEO program, because when you are a local business, there's certain things you need to do that are different in order to show up in these results here, again, down this section here, than if you're really trying to compete against eLocal Plumbers or theplumbingdoctor.com. So I just have a couple other examples of how the local search results pop up. And for many of you, this is something you see every day and you probably use every day. I know I do. But just as in the context of what we're looking at today, I wanted to make sure everyone saw the different places that these do come up. So for example, I'm now searching for modern furniture, Washington, D.C., and you can see here that what we're seeing is a filtered list of relevant pins in the Washington, D.C. area. And in this particular case, what's interesting is that Theodore's actually one of our clients. They're popping up in the position 1. They're this pin A, so they're actually kind of not right down in the core part of Washington, D.C., but they're popping up as a relevant search there. Now, this is pretty interesting. I then did a search here again of modern furniture, Washington, D.C. in Google, and again we see that it looks a little different than that plumber search, because if you remember in the plumber search there were 3 more traditional organic results, then they got into the local results. With this particular one, because I'm searching modern furniture, Washington, D.C., we don't see the 3 organic results first. We just go directly into the local results. So the complexity here is that depending on how you're searching and whether you're adding a geo term to your search or not, Google really is pretty dynamically changing these results around. So it can sometimes, when you're sitting down with your client, be a little unwieldy because they're popping search queries in and out, and sometimes they're putting in a geographic term, sometimes they're not, and you can just see how the results do change.
Chad, we had a few people in the chat window asking one slide back when you were showing the big satellite picture. Yeah, that one. Saying, how did you get to that? That's not recognizable to me.
Oh, I just went to maps.google.com. So I'll actually bring that up really fast here. So if I just go to maps.google.com and I search for modern furniture, Washington, D.C., I get that result. So actually you can see here on the left it pulls in all these other pins, so I can either hover over the different options that show up, or I can sort of locate in a little bit more and say, well, actually, I want to go to this area of town, or I want to go to this area of town, and there's other options here. Okay,
cool,
so
thanks. Another question was, someone in the chat window again noticed that you were logged in and said, are the results you're seeing different because he's logged into Google?
It can be the case. I think in this particular case, they show up regardless of whether I'm logged in or not, but absolutely, it's taking into account sites that I've visited and other factors when it's showing me the search results. And again, that goes back to the complexity of when you sit down with a client and they're asking you, why does this pop up? Why does my result pop up here but not over here? A lot of times it has to do with they're logged in, they're at home, which maybe their geographic location is closer to a competitor than when they're at work and they're right at their store, obviously. So there's just a whole bunch of factors that go into it. And usually, you know, there's when people ask us these questions and they're confused by it because it is actually fairly complex. They're used to the world where, you know, you bought the Washington, D.C. Yellow Page directory and you were always on page 72. No matter how many times you open that book, you were always in the same place. With Google, obviously it's very dynamic. It's taking into account sites that you went to. Have you visited one of the sites that that you know is that fits this particular search query? And so clearly that can be confusing for someone if they're not Google geeks like us. So good question. Okay, so the final thing I wanted to show is that there have been, at least on the Google side, you know, this used to, a lot of these links, if you clicked on the map pin, or if you went to this result, if you went to the map pin and then you clicked on the map pin, it would allow you to go to more information, which would take you to the old Google Places. Now they're actually taking you into Google Plus Local, which is now showing me information about the Theodore's business here, and you can see this location's been claimed and that there's been a description added, and so that's kind of how that works. What's interesting is that if you have a Google Plus business page and then you also have a Google Plus local page, that right now they're not completely joined. That's still a process, and I think we talked about this maybe a couple months ago in one of our webinars. It's still a process that's sort of unfolding, is actually getting these two separate properties of Google to come together. Okay, so one of the things obviously is why local SEO. It's, you know, maybe the price point's lower. I got to sell a lot more of this. You know, organic SEO, I know that a little better. I can develop websites better. Well, first of all, for the client, it's often sort of low-hanging fruit for many companies. I mean, if they can come in and because they have a physical location, they can more immediately get presence in the search engines. It's just sort of a no-brainer for most people. Get in Google Local. It clearly has also a big impact on mobile. I didn't show a screenshot here, but obviously all Android devices right now, iPhones are using Google Maps. That's changing at some point, but regardless of whatever the iPhone map product ends up looking like, they will also pull data from Yelp or from some other database that if you claim that listing, you can show up when someone is searching for your business. So it's a big opportunity, again, low-hanging fruit for most local businesses. The other thing is that it's a great way to enhance, if you do have organic search results in some places, or you're even doing pay-per-click advertising, that local SEO and claiming your Google Plus local page, it allows you to enhance your search result listing. So you may have seen that, well, I won't go back to it now, but in many of the pay-per-click ads these days, you'll see that if they have a local location, that information is getting appended to your ad. So the nice thing about that is that instead of having a 3-line ad in Google, you now get a 3-line ad, plus you have your 2 or so lines of Google local information. That's also happening, as we saw in the Theodore's example, where you also are getting more space depending on how much you're using different products. So if you have a Google local listing, but you also have a Google Plus profile, you get an extra little link on your Google local listing. It's very Google confusing to be talking about this because you're just, everything I say is sort of Google and then another product name. But right now we're sort of in this spot where we are, Google clearly is trying to bring these products together, but they're not all completely gelled. And so we are doing a lot of watching how does someone get a link to Google Plus on their Google local page and vice versa, and how can we make a change to help improve our clients' listings. But I think more importantly for the audience here is really why is this good for a reseller? And so we've put together content this month talking about how local SEO is really a gateway product and a way to get your foot in the door for other services. So again, this is a relatively low-cost initial service, and again, it has good immediate payback because they can see that my listing's claimed, it's enhanced, there's photos of my listings now, this looks great, and it's a good way to build a relationship so that you open up that conversation and they trust you, so that now you can go back to them and say, we could do better if your website was better, or if you like the local presence you're getting and the clicks you may be getting from that, we could take that to the next level with more traditional SEO or pay-per-click and email, social media, whatever it might be. So we see it as a great way to get your foot in the door and then upsell or cross-sell other services. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our process overview. And what we've done is you probably remember, many of you remember that we, prior to our new product, we had 2 different products. We had a verify-only program, and then we had an ongoing updates SEO program. And what we found is that a lot of people came to us and enrolled in the ongoing program, but had never really fully completed their main profiles, the Google, Yahoo, and Bing profiles. And so as we looked at the work we were doing with the ongoing updates, we were getting feedback that it wasn't maybe as effective as someone wanted. So they wanted more, which we heard and we bundled in. But when we looked at it, we said, well, no matter how many citations we build or how much of the other stuff we do, they haven't done the basic building block of fully building out their Google local profile or their Bing or Yahoo profile. And again, like in most search marketing, Google is king here. So really, they haven't done the maximum amount they could do in Google. And so we looked at it and we said, well, let's merge these 2 programs back together, because even with those people who have quote-unquote verified their listings, it may not be completed as much as it could be. It may not have as many pictures as they allow or categories selected, and if they have videos loaded in. So we said, let's merge these 2 together, and then our first part of the project will be to evaluate the completeness of the profile and whether they've all been verified, and then we can kind of determine, do we skip over that step and kind of bring tasks forward, or do we need to still go in and spend time verifying and completing the profiles? So the first thing, as I said here, is that we claim and enhance the core listings. That's verifying them, it's completing the data, adding photos and then videos if they're available, and then really throughout the process making sure that duplicates don't pop up. That was another finding from our last program, was that we just had a lot of cases where we would have duplicate listings popping up for whatever reason. Someone else claimed the listing, or just another database was pulled in and somehow a duplicate popped up in there. So really looking at that and trying to manage the duplicates was something we felt like we needed to get into the program. So we do that throughout the whole program. Once that core part's done, then we move on to building the authority with citations. And so that's local SEO on-site updates, which if you think about a citation is a link that often isn't a direct link. So the link is using name, address, and phone number of the business. So if you think about it, what Google did is said, well, hey, we've built this whole algorithm around links and how links work. So we know that there's an anchor link and that my crawler can go through a page and find anytime there's an Ahref, figure out where it's going and what the anchor text is and say, hey, that's a vote for that website. But they said, well, on the local side, sometimes people write restaurant reviews, and they may just mention the restaurant's name and its address and maybe its phone number. But that sort of counts as for a link. That's a vouch. That's someone vouching for a particular restaurant without actually then creating a link. So what they did is they started using, essentially that's what a citation is a web page that references a name, address, and phone number, and then Google is building in the ability for their algorithm to look at those citations and count those as sort of a pseudo link. And so one of the most important citations you can have is to make sure that your actual real website references your name, address, and phone number. You'd be surprised at how many people's websites it's tucked away in some place that may not be readable, or they maybe have their name but not their phone number, or their address, or they don't have their address at all. And so one of the things we look at is, like, if you have a physical address, whether it's a retail location or a professional office, we want to make sure that that address is front and center on the website, either in the header or the footer. And in addition to that being useful to the search engines, that's definitely useful to your prospective audience, because I know there's a lot of cases where I know the name of the business and I don't have the phone number. So a lot of times I can quickly get to their website by just typing in their website, their businessname.com, if I know it or searching for it. And then I really quickly want to get their phone number, which if it's in the header, great. If I have to dig around throughout the site, that's kind of a pain. So that's one of the things we do, is we give you a recommendation of changes you need to make to your website so that it maximizes the citation that your Google local listing is getting for that from the website. The next thing that we do is really identify other citations that we can, other citations that we can get you in. So there's two groups. There's a group of what I would call Tier 1 citations. So these are known sites like Express Update USA that feeds out to Info USA and all the websites that get data from them. And there's other ones that are in this kind of Tier 1 category that we can go out and find. And then the second thing that we do is we use some competitive citation analysis tools to build a list of other websites that your competitors or your client's competitors have citations on, so that we can then go and over time neutralize or at least get our customer's name on those same spots. And then the final point here in terms of how to build authority of citations is to always remember that any type of traditional SEO program a lot of times can be a tiebreaker. So if two businesses have claimed their listings, they've completed their profiles 100%, they both have gotten 10 people to write reviews about their business, so they've done everything they could possibly do to build out their Google profile, and they even have gone out and gotten the same 10 citations. A lot of times the tiebreaker, if it's, again, if it's in terms of the parity of the two, they're in the same location roughly, a lot of times the tiebreaker is whether one site has a higher domain authority than the other site. So this is where traditional SEO still comes into play, is that your backlinks actually do count in building the authority of how well your local listing actually can rank in the search engines. So then the final thing I mentioned.
There's questions on that,
yeah.
Chad. So I think just to make sure you hit it on the head here, what about very competitive keywords? Besides building citations and 100% complete listings, how do you increase rank? And I think that's what you're just covering. You're actually saying that traditional link juice and domain authority are those factors?
Yeah, because if what I said earlier was that probably the best and most powerful citation you have for your Google Places or your Google Plus local listing is the authority of your website. So that the website that's referenced in your Google Plus local listing is very powerful. And so again, if everything else being held equal, and it's usually not the case that everything is exactly the same, but everything else being held equal, that's where a SEO program coupled with a local SEO program but that's where the SEO program can actually help, because if that domain authority of your website is higher than your competitors, that might be what tips the scale and gets your location to come up number one. Now, just one other point on that. Again, everything else being equal, one of the most important factors, no matter what, even before, well, maybe you obviously have to verify your listing first, but probably before we get into reviews, completeness of content, and a number of other factors, location is critical. So if you're the plumber and you service the entire Washington, D.C. area from a warehouse 30 miles outside of Washington, D.C., and that's your physical address, it's going to be harder for you to pop up if someone's searching on Washington, D.C. plumber when there's people who are located and their place of business is closer to the Washington, D.C. centroid.
Cool. Yeah, and somebody typed in, actually a couple people said, that's surprising to me that local is influenced by links. Can you supply us with any research or citations on where you guys came up with that? Which I think you sent around before, Chad. I know you did research on this. I don't know if that's a juicy blog post that you or Jenna or Renee or Ellen want to tackle, but can you think of anything offhand where you've seen that supported with research?
Yeah, the one that we often look at is there's David Mim, is a pretty well-known person in the local SEO space, and if you, I think his website is davidmim.com. It's M-I-H-M. But if you Google him and you search local search ranking factors, like David Mim local search ranking factors, he does an annual study, and that's where we look at that pretty closely, because it's a good group of people from across the industry who are doing this. And I think the biggest trend they saw in 2012 study was that there was sort of this resurgence of the power of actual regular old links and domain authority that comes from links.
And Eric, one of our in-house gurus, analysts here at HubShot, chiming in saying, take a look at getlisted.org as well for more references on that. Another question for you, Chad. What if you are a chain and you have hundreds of locations? How do you gain citation authority?
Well, so the main thing you would do there is, obviously you want to claim all of your listings to start with, and then you would probably attack each one of those on sort of a local level, because you are ultimately, this is one of the challenges a lot of times with a large with a national franchise, is that there are some national links you can get, and obviously the domain authority of the core website, but you really want to look at it also on a local level to see if you're I don't know, if you're just going to go with if you're a pest, you're exterminator, you're Orkin or something, and you're an exterminator, and you've got you're a national company, but you operate very locally, you're going to want to be looking at where locally are there opportunities for citations, not just like sort of the national ones. So you do need to look at it on a local level as well, which makes it obviously more expensive for the franchises, because now it's not just, hey, the beauty of the national system is that I just need to do marketing for my national head term, pest control, but if I also want to have local presence, that's going to help, but I also need to be thinking locally, what can I do to build those local citations?
All right, someone's saying that for each location you have to build that out, and you have to have header and footer and name and duplicate all the efforts, and they're wondering if that's the case, and I think we have clients who are doing that for many locations, right?
Yeah, I mean, for a big franchise system, you obviously wouldn't work to have in the header or footer every single location's name and address, so there would have to be some kind of special consideration given there. But a lot of the larger companies will have some guys have more like local websites where they actually have each location has a local website, or most of the time they'll have a location section where the name, address, and phone number will be referenced. So if that were the case, again, I'd say that 80% of the people that we're dealing with have 1 or 2 or 3 locations. So in those cases, you can usually get the name, address, and phone number right in the header or footer. When you're dealing with someone who has hundreds or thousands of locations, then you definitely are going to have to take a different approach. Okay, so the next thing I just wanted to do here was actually run through, I talked about the overall process, But I just wanted to quickly walk through the task flow that we have. So again, the way this is set up today is that we have a pre-canned set of tasks that we're running through our workflow system, and the way they're broken up and prioritized is based on how important they are, back to those ranking factors that we just talked about, David Mim and getlisted.org, using some of that information to prioritize what should come first. I mean, at the end of the day, we have something in month 4 for creating a video to put back on your Google Plus local page. We'd love to do that in month 1, but we're trying to sort of hit a certain price point, and if we don't think a video, although we like the idea of a video, if we think that that's less important in getting the listing to come up in the rankings compared to, let's say, claiming the listing, then that's how we sorted it out. So in month 1, we start with the verification I already mentioned. We also, and I'll walk through this in a minute, are using our review pending client feature. So what we're trying to do is actually push out notification to your customer using our review pending client feature with your branding, letting them know that the verification postcard's on its way, and that when they get it, they can come back into your portal and actually provide the verification pin right into the system, so that we eliminate a lot of the back and forth and communication that we've tried to do in the past with resellers, but just the telephone tag game just to slow the verification process down. So we're trying to use technology here to facilitate that. The other thing we do is we want to start working on trying to request reviews. So we've built out a pre-canned set of review badges that could go on customers' websites that say, if you like us, review us, in a variety of different formats and graphical layouts. So those are available. And then we also have email templates set up where your end customers can provide us a list of their new customers in any given month, and then we can email them out, again, sort of on your behalf and with the client's branding, requesting a review to Google Places or Yelp or wherever we think is the best, wherever needs the most reviews. Month 2, we head into the local, do the on-site audit for local SEO factors. So that's a name, address, and phone number. That's ideally a link on your website to your Google Plus page. So there's a number of factors that we look at, and we provide you a report. And then just like with our regular on-site SEO report, if you'd like us to help implement it, we can do that for a separate charge. We also claim the Tier 1 directory citations. So that's where we start, again, go out to Express Update USA, and a few other of the Tier 1s, and we begin making claiming citations there, building citations. We also then repeat the process of requesting reviews and local status updates. So again, we're using the review pending client feature to send a message out to your customer saying, it's the end of month 2. If you have any new customers this month, drop them into this task, and so that we can actually notify and request an email or request a review from them. And then also, if you have any events that you want us to post in each platform has a slightly different name for it, but the offers or updates or status section of your primary directories, let us know and we can put that information out there. So again, we're trying to facilitate some of that customer communication using the technology so that it takes a load off of our resellers and also just gets things done faster. So the third month is another kind of big month here, because now we've done the 2 most important things and we're on to the next group of citations. And what we're doing is we're using some research tools that where we can plug in competitors and also people in the category and find where there are the most citations for that kind of business or that specific business and its competitors. And then we're building a list that our analysts are using to go out and start making sure that your client is in those same directories. So each month, the number varies a little bit, but we're essentially going through and working off of that list to build out citations in month 3, 4, and 5. The other big thing that happens in month 4 is we actually create a video slideshow that's a video using sort of a slideshow format, and then we use that and we post that on your Google Plus page. And anywhere else that we can actually post that video. So that's something that, again, is enhancing the value here, and we're going back to the Google plus local page and making it look as good as we can possibly make it look. I also noted here that extra videos can be purchased from us. So for example, if this is something where you didn't want to wait till month 4, we've actually heard this from a couple of our customers. They don't want to wait till month 4 to get the video. It's totally fine. We can actually, as a separate SOW, handle building out 1, 2, or 3 videos in month 1 or month 2, wherever you would want them, and then we can knock those out earlier in the process. On month 5, we're back to building citations again, and then also making sure, kind of going back and comparing the research we did in month 3 to see how many do we have left, what are some other ideas for building citations, and then on to building out more citations. And then essentially when we get to month 6, we start repeating the process of building, of doing research around citations and doing video updates and continuing that process. So we just start cycling back through.
Tons of questions for you, Chad.
Great.
First is, does the on-site audit include looking at schema.org metadata?
Yeah, that's one of the things we look at. So especially around review data, we look at if there is any review information on the website, and we would ideally want to see that in a schema.org format. And for those of you guys who don't know what schema.org is, it's essentially a metadata, I guess a standard that the industry, search engines and other websites that crawl content have developed to better describe information. So, you know, a good example is when someone writes a review. There is the title of the review, there's the author of the review, there's the review text, but then some of the, and those are all things that, you know, you want to be clear on to the search engines what each element is. But then one of the real important elements, especially if you want to get those stars showing up in your Google results, is you need to tell the search engines that this is a rating scale of 1 to 5, and this is a rating 3. And so by having a standard format for that, Google and other search engines and other sites can actually go in and read your content and say, this is a review, I know how to read this, and I know that if in my system I want to represent this review, I can use my own rating scale system and do that in some way. So reviews, I think, are usually the most relevant. There are definitely ones for video, for products, for, let's see, there's quite a few other ones, but for our business, the ones and for our typical customer, the ones that seem to be most relevant are reviews, and then if for the e-commerce guys, maybe some product stuff, and that's kind of what we have in there.
Okay, great. The next one here is, I'd like to understand the process for requesting reviews from the client customers better.
Okay, great. So this is one that, you know, we think it's really important to get reviews, and there's 2 reasons for that, because generally we believe that sort of the best offense is a good defense. So, you know, if basically when you have someone who attacks you with a negative review, ideally you want to have 5 or 10 good ones sitting there at the ready. And so building up good reviews is really important. So what we're doing is we are using our email marketing platform. So we have a tab, an email tab, and we're, as part of our setup process, working with the reseller to create an email template. And we have some standardized templates we've already built that have pre-written text to say, thanks for being our customer. You know, we always are looking for, one of the ways we get more customers is by people like you telling their friends about us, so please write a review on Google, and here's a link to go write it. So that part's pretty easy. We have an email that we can send out. The hard part is getting the list of new customers so we can send that to our customers on a monthly basis. So what we've done is we've created this review pending customer or review pending client notification feature where we can type a message and that sends out to anyone who has access to that account. So it would be the reseller as well as their customer if the customer's been granted access. It comes out with the reseller's branding on it, and it basically would say, something to the effect of, one of the parts of your local SEO program is requesting reviews on a monthly basis. In order to do that, we would like to know if you can provide us a list of any of your new customers this month. So that can then come either, the reseller can, if they haven't put their end customer in, or if they get the same notification and they want to coordinate that, if you can get the list, plug it into the task note, we can then take it, either plug it into the task note or go directly to the list in our newsletter feature, in our email feature, and drop in those new names. We will have set up an autoresponder that will either go out, when someone's the next day after they're added, or if there's a built-in delay, like for example, if you're shipping something and you don't really want to ask for a review until 10 days after they purchase it, because obviously there's some shipping that goes on in the middle, we can set that up. So that's the core part of it, is that we're using emails to ask for reviews. The other part of it is, like I said, we've built some badges that we recommend putting on the client's website that also have a request for a review. And those are the two parts that we're using to try to help encourage people to get reviews. We're definitely, I think the time of having someone sending us a letter or typing up an email and saying, this is what a client said about me, the problem with a lot of that is that those reviews, Yelp is the first one to do it, where they filter out people who aren't longtime Yelp customers. So I don't know if anyone's probably been through frustration, has been through the process with Yelp, but if Yelp has a pretty high standard on how often you have to contribute in order for your reviews to kind of stick on any given business. So Google has started doing something similar, and and I think that it's maybe not as quite the same as what Yelp is doing, but the more we can get people to actually sign in and use their real profile and their real identity with their Google login, the better the chance that those reviews are going to stick. So that's what we've decided to do.
Great. Another question was, how many citations are you getting each month?
Yeah, it really varies depending on month to month. So in some months, and a lot of it comes down to time. So a lot of you guys know that some places require crazy amounts of verification and authentication. So some months we may be getting 3, some months we may be getting 6. It just depends on what how long they take, and then what else we're doing in that month.
All right, cool.
All that is being reported, I should say, all that is being reported in the dashboard, so you would be able to see, at any given time in your monthly reports and in the dashboard, how many citations that we were able to secure in any given month.
Okay, cool. And last one on this slide, Chad, was, can we see samples of the videos?
Yeah, we can. I don't have one right now to show you, but I can definitely maybe post that as a follow-up in the forum so that people can see that.
And I think Chris Rowe put a bunch in the forum, didn't he? He ran a contest a couple months ago. People wanted videos made for them. He did a couple for free. So if you're not active in our reseller forum, there's plenty to see and read about there.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get a link to those included in the sort of follow-up to this when we post the video tomorrow, or the recording here tomorrow. Okay, so we touched on some of these things, but I wanted to make the point that everything we're doing is workflow driven. So actually, kind of behind the scenes, one of the things that we did as part of launching this new product is we reworked our workflow tools so that we could create a list of tasks that are generated at the time of SOW sign-off. So this is just a simple look here at one of our campaigns where basically starting on 7/24, you can see that there were we started generating tasks, and then basically our analyst, Eric in this case, started knocking these things off to complete them throughout the month. So it is all reportable and built in the workflow tool. The other thing that we changed is that we got some feedback. In the prior version of our map optimization product, we were really just essentially running one task that said kind of run the monthly checklist. So what we wanted to do here was to get a bit more specific about each task, so that when you go to your client with what did you do this month, there would be a nice filled out list here of things that we've done. The other thing that we built out was we did go ahead and build a password vault so that all of the passwords that we create as we go through this process can be stored in the system, and those are all available. Well, it's an internal tool, but it's something that we have all the data so that it's easily reportable if needed. And then I mentioned this earlier, but I did want to touch base again on how this review pending client feature works. We think it's pretty neat because, again, we've been trying to find ways that in a private labeled fashion we can actually do more client interaction on your behalf. And again, some of our resellers think this is the greatest thing in the world. Some don't like it at all. So as always, we give you the flexibility to say who's in your different delivery groups and who has access to accounts, depending on how much you want your end customer to be able to pull into the reporting tool. Ultimately, we think this is another great feature that we have that if you make this work and you get your end clients with direct access to the accounts, then we're able to actually take another load off your shoulders so that we can actually be more efficient in delivering this work. And so the way this works is that in this particular example, we've claimed the Bing local listing for one of our potential clients or one of our clients. And you can see here that Brian, one of our analysts, says your Bing local listing has been claimed. You'll receive a postcard from Bing within 7 to 10 days. Once you receive it, the verification postcard, please update this task with the PIN number. So that then goes out to the end customer and the reseller, and basically at that point they would be able to click on the task. They'd get an email and they'd be able to click on the task number, come back into the system into a nice field where they could actually type in the verification code. Brian would be notified, he could go enter it, and then everything would be sort of completed and built out. The other thing that's nice with the review pending client status is that this is another great place where, as part of you checking in and seeing kind of what things you need, what things we need from you or we need from your clients, there's a way that you can go in and look across all of your accounts and find all the tasks that are in review pending client. So that's just your note to know that, hey, these are things that by me not getting the answer back to HubShout, that we're being slowed down, which obviously translates into we're not able to move the needle as much as quickly as we would like. And so this is a good feature for us just to communicate with you and ultimately to communicate with your customers. Have there been any questions on this one? I'm just going to kind of open this one up because I know we've talked about this a few times. We did a webinar probably 6 or 7 months ago about customer communication where we first talked about this. We've recently been using this a lot more with our social plans and the local plans because we need feedback from the customer. So just wanted to kind of pause on that and see if anyone had any questions because this is something that we think is really good. Always interested in hearing your feedback on it.
I have a couple more questions, Chad, but they're all sort of summary. I'll wait for your last slide unless this is it, but nothing on the new feature for communication.
Okay, that's it. So let's hit those last ones, Adam.
Okay, the last couple here to close it up are, will you offer a Google Plus local package?
Well, the Google Plus local, so this gets into that crazy circular Google branding. I can imagine that whoever's in Google in charge of branding right now has got a big job to get this sort of all figured out. But so Google Places is now referred to as Google Plus Local. And so that's the consumer front end was once called Google Places. They've now, in an effort to drive the usage and adoption of Google Plus, made that the local tab under Google Plus, called it Google Plus Local. So that's precisely what we have today. This package is all about Google Plus Local, and that's what we're primarily trying to push. Now, At the same time, there is Google Plus, and you can have a business page on Google Plus. And today, right now, those are administered through two separate places in Google. Doesn't really make any sense to me. I'm sure somewhere at Google it doesn't make sense to somebody as well, and they're probably actively working to try to address that. My guess, and this is again another webinar we've had in the past, is that local is becoming social. So these local products, Google Plus, Local Today, and Bing and Yahoo, at some point these will all, I think, be integrated in. This is my speculation, but I can't see how it wouldn't be the case. But I think that these products will be integrated and rationalized in some way in with social, because it only makes sense that if I have to go to Google Plus Local to add my coupon or offer for the month, but then I want to go tell my people following me on Google Plus that I've got a special running, and I have to go to a different place to log in and make that to update to add that note. This doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I think at some point these two will come together. But right now the product is focused on Google Plus Local.
Cool. Next question here is, though, I have to go pick up my kids. Thanks, guys. Will you be sending us an email with the slideshow?
Definitely. We'll send out, so what we do on this, just for those of you who are new, is that this is all being recorded. We will post it on the website tomorrow. We can also actually send out the slide deck as well. That's fine. We'll put it in the forum.
Cool. Is local SEO a service that you can offer to international resellers? Would you be able to do this service in the UK on google.co.uk?
Right now this is a US only product that we have. We revamped it. The old product we mostly only did in the US. That is something that we will definitely look at, is expanding it out, but for now it's US only.
Okay, cool. And then the last one here, can we get this presentation but have it private labeled so we could show it to our prospective clients?
Yeah, I mean, I could send this to you as a PowerPoint so that you could then just open up the template, change the colors around however you want, and away you go.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's all of them, Chad.
Okay. Well, thanks, everyone, for attending today. And as always, we'll get this posted, and then we'll also follow up the discussion in the forum. So if there are any other follow-on questions, we'll have a forum thread up for this tomorrow. And have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, please join us in the forum. We'd like to continue. A lot of great questions today, so let's keep talking about it. We'll see you in there.